The pre-Saiyan Day trap is on his way, but is he actually worth your stones? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. Dokkan Festival Teq Bardock is coming to Global Dokkan Battle here in about 13 and a half hours from when this video releases. This guy is controversial, to say the least, and him being the banner right before March 18th leads a lot of people wondering whether or not you should summon for this guy. So in this video, we're going to spend some time talking about a few of the considerations you should make before making your final decision to summon for Dokkan Festival Teq Bardock. As always, when we decide whether or not we should summon for a unit, we look at three major factors. Number one, we look at the unit itself. Is the unit good? Is he worth justifying a few multis on the banner? Then we take a look at the banner itself. Is the banner valuable enough to consider summoning on? Then we look at what lies ahead. What are the banners that are coming up here in the near future that may be worthy of your consideration? Once all of those things are factored in, I will offer my personal recommendation on what you should summon for and maybe how many stones you might be willing to spend. So we're going to go ahead and hop in. Before we look at what the unit does, we are actually going to take a look at the super attack animations and the intro animation. I wanted to do this one specifically for Bardock because I feel like, above all else, one of the main attractions to Bardock is the fact that his entrance animation is just so good. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to pause the music here, we're going to adjust the volume. Make sure you adjust the own volume on your end, and let's get ready to check out these animations. So this is the animations for that Int Tora that we saw.
I'm gonna change the future! This will change everything! Both my fate and yours! This is the end of the line!
Very, very nice. Yeah, like I said, I do think that Bardock's animations are clean. They are some of the best for a Dokkan Fest TUR in the game, bar none. And the OST for me is just perfect. Very few OSTs I feel like really match the gravitas of the moment from the anime. But I feel like this is one of them, right? Like, it's just so fitting to the sort of vision that Bardock has, and I think it's really good. And I think that alone is a big consideration for many people considering to summon for Bardock. So I definitely wanted to spend some time to take a look at that. So let's go ahead, let's hop in, let's look at what he does. So Dokkan Fest Teq Bardock is a Goku's Family or Story Figure category, key 3 HP attack defense 170, plus an additional HP and attack defense 30% for characters who belong on the Pure Saiyan. So this covers basically everybody on Team Bardock. It covers Bardock himself, it covers the new Tora, it covers King Vegeta's, right, because he's on storied figures. It also covers basically every Goku in the game, so it's actually a pretty solid leader skill. And if we ever get more kind of side characters or more Bardocks or more like King Vegetas, they would definitely be under this. So it's a pretty decent leader skill, all things considered. Now, his passive, he has his instance animation that activates once only. He randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow key spheres. He has attack 70% and foresees enemy super attack for 5 turns from the start. When there's an ally who includes Goku on the team, or when there is an enemy who includes Frieza at the start of the character's attacking turn. So realistically, you're probably going to have some pretty decent Gokus on the team, right? He can run all of the major staple Gokus on a team. Both Carnival Gokus can be run on his team, so it's really not that difficult to do. He's also got Key 2, attack defense 150%. He gets an additional attack defense 40% with each super attack performed, up to 120. He's effective against all types with 1 or more rainbow keys for obtained. He's got an additional 50% attack defense with 2 or more obtained, and he performs a critical hit with 3 or more rainbow keys for obtained. So for the first 5 turns, this is actually pretty easy to do. You may run into some trouble, following those 5 turns, but the real kicker for this guy is the ability to see or enemies super attack. Most events in the game can be cleared somewhere between 5 to 8 turns. So basically having the entirety of the first phases of your fights with this guy having a scouter effect is really, really big. I mean, it is. You guys know me. You guys know that one of the main reasons I run the Teq Gogeta so much is for the free scouter effect that he gets, and it is one of the most powerful abilities in the game. Combine this with the SDR Carnival Goku, assuming you get him, or any other unit on his leader skill that has a scouter effect. Once his expires, you're likely to have achieved, say, Teq Goji. Well, actually, I don't think they share any categories, but Pure Saiyans, I guess. But you're likely to have achieved Teq Gogeta's Scouter effect by the time this expires, or the SDR Carnival Goku's Scouter effect by the time this expires. So realistically, playing it right, you're probably never going to lose that Scouter effect with this ability. Plus, he can actually build quite well. 120 attack and defense is actually, that's only a couple attacks with him, and then you invest some additionals in him, you're getting it that much quicker. But he can actually be alright. Like, he's one of those characters, he's kind of in that realm of, like, against final boss type enemies, he's tanking normals for the most part, but dying to supers, which is most units in the game, so you can't really fault him for that. But he is really good, especially if you manage to get the extra rainbow orbs. Now, he does have an active skill that can be activated when there are 3 or more Team Bardock category allies on the team, starting from the 3rd turn of battle, or when 50% or less starting from the 5th turn. It causes ultimate damage, and within the turn, all attacks become critical hits. So, pretty standard active skill. It's not that crazy, but definitely good. And I do think him as a unit is good enough. Now, as far as my recommendation on whether he carries the banner on his own, I think this is the first unit so far that I have reviewed in one of these Should You Summon videos where I honestly don't believe he does. He's good, don't get me wrong. He's great, and if you're a Bardock fan and you love that animation, like, that's great. But unfortunately, as a unit in the context of other units that have released not only this year and since the 7th anniversary, but in the lead up to the 8th anniversary, he doesn't really stand out much. So I cannot say that he himself is good enough to carry the entire banner to justify a summon. Unless, of course, Bardock's your thing, and, you're a big Bardock fan. The Tora is actually pretty decent. We're not going to review him in full, but he is definitely a good support unit for the Bardock, especially if you're running a more low-class warrior, story-figured-centered team. Definitely going to be a good addition if you manage to pick him up. So, that brings us to our next category, right? So automatically we've got none for should you summon so far. So looking at the banner itself, this is the banner. It's likely to see 1 or 2 changes, but I can't imagine they would change it too much because 3 of these units are probably going to return on the Saiyan Day banner, right? The Majin Vegeta, the Bardock, and the Broly, because all of them were previous Saiyan Day units, and those usually return on the Saiyan Day banner, right? If we look ahead to the next banner real quick again, right? You see them. Previous Saiyan Day units are usually on the Saiyan Day banner, so it's likely that we'll see them again in just a few weeks. So it's possible all 3 of these could be removed from the banner, or they're doing something crazy with Saiyan Day, and that banner could be changed entirely, which might be the more likely scenario. Hard to say, but even then, let's assume no changes. There's not really anybody here on the banner that really stands out, unless you missed out on Majin Vegeta. Majin Vegeta is pretty good. Broly still has some good uses. Bardock's coming up on an easy A, and Super Vegeta just released at the wrong moment. Had he released a year earlier, he might be pretty insane, but him being where he is, and I say this as a Super Vegeta fan, him releasing when he did in the lead up to the 7th anniversary, he kind of fell off quick. But I say all of that to say that the banner itself is not that great. Even if you did miss Majin Vegeta, I have a feeling it's very likely he'll return in 2 to 3 weeks on the 18th when the Saiyan Day banner drops. So unfortunately we have 2 in the category for no summons. So that brings us to our final consideration. That is what lies ahead. Well, we already know we have the Saiyan Day banners coming up. Now we don't know who the unit is yet going to be. I mean, I have some guesses. Maybe I'll do a prediction video on who I think it could be. But you know, as of right now, we don't know who it is, but we do know who the guaranteed returns are. So number 1 guaranteed return on this banner is the Vegeta and Trunks from the Tanabata celebration. Always returns on the Saiyan Day banner. So if you're someone who missed out on Vegeta and Trunks, this is their return. It's also the return of the Teq Gogeta, and like I said, previous Saiyan Day units usually return on the same banner. Now, these guys being on Bardock's banner could mean that there could be a major change coming that we're not aware of just yet. We'll have to see, but we can guarantee at least that the Teq Gogeta and the Vegeta and Trunks are likely to return on this banner when it comes on the 18th. So again, if you're somebody who missed out on Vegeta and Trunks during Tanabata, you may not necessarily be wanting to spend stones on Bardock's banner if it means losing out on that. So definitely one of the major considerations here. Following Saiyan Day, though, our next Dokkan Fest that we are aware of is going to be the Yamcha, and like the Bardock, nothing too special on the banner, so you wouldn't be missing out on too much if you chose to summon on Bardock over Yamcha. I mean, there's still a few good units, like the Ginyu is good, Yamcha himself is pretty insane. The Blue Boys have their uses, right? I'm not going to call them good or bad. They're kind of the definition of mid, right? They're not great, but they're not terrible either. So you wouldn't be missing out on much if you chose Bardock over Yamcha. Now, unfortunately for global, if I can scroll down here to the global timeline, no, 7 year. Yeah, we wanted 7 year. Why did I go there? April? Oh yeah, I was right. April 2022, right? So April 22 was the last known Dokkan Fest that we had last year, right? Usually this is the New Year's celebration, and unfortunately we shared the New Year's celebration. So April is likely to be the Yamcha in replace of the New Year's celebration, but it's not going to... Yamcha was only half a celebration. This New Year's celebration was the full month, right? There's usually enough content to carry the full month. But Yamcha was only half a celebration because he was the lead into the Christmas celebration on JP, which means there's a whole half a month of something that's supposed to happen here. Usually the part 2 stuff happens between, right, mid-April to the 20th, leading into whatever's happening for Golden Week, right? Now, we have no idea what the part 2 could be, if anything, but there's no way Yamcha's celebration carries through a whole month of a dual Dokkan Fest, so expect something during that time. And I say that to say that basically any stone you spend here could be something you're missing out on whatever that missing time is. There's also Golden Week to consider. That will be in the 1st of May all the way up to the end of May, and then the last Dokkan Fest before the anniversary, bringing us to the anniversary banners. Any stone you spend on Bardock's banner is a stone you are taking away from these 2 banners right here. And as I've mentioned before, these are some of the best banners in Dokkan history, right? The return of the 7 years, the return of the Gammas, the AGL Super Saiyan duos, right? The Vegito Blue, who is getting an Easy A during the anniversary. On the other side, we have the Cooler, the Gamma 1, the Gods, the Gogeta, who also got an Easy A during the anniversary, right? These are some insane value, some insanely powerful units who, if you missed out on any of them at any point during the last year, aside from the new units, you definitely don't want to be spending on a banner like Bardock's, where there isn't much value aside from the new unit himself. So I definitely have to say, looking at all of these considerations, I don't know that Bardock is worth it. I think this might be one of my few videos where I give a flat out no, I don't recommend summoning on this banner. Even if you've got over 1,000 stones, usually I tier my recommendation, but I can't say that I can do that on this one, especially knowing that Saiyan Day, whatever that might be, is likely to be far better than whatever Bardock is. I mean, at least that's my hope. So there is one final consideration I'll leave you with, and that is that there are tickets available in the latest data download in Global. We do have confirmation that there are tickets that will last from the launch of the Dokkan Fest to the 24th. So this basically confirms that this is the tickets for the Bardocks. So these are purchasable, though unsure of how they'll work. Last year it was a guaranteed featured ticket, but I don't know if that's the case, and we won't ever know until it actually drops. So could be one of those 20 unit guaranteed features, in which case, if you're a low to play player, that might be your ticket, no pun intended, into the Bardock banner. But otherwise, I don't really recommend you spend too many stones on here. I might do a few summons. I'll definitely be doing the tickets and do a few summons just so I can get those showcases in for you guys so you guys can see how this guy works. But otherwise, I myself won't even be spending that much on this banner. If we don't get Bardock, we don't get Bardock. That's pretty much how it's going to go for me. So anyways, guys, that is my recommendation. My recommendation on this banner is a big fat no. I don't like to do that. I prefer to tier my recommendations because I know everybody boxes is different, but knowing that we are this close to Saiyan Day, I can't say that I can heartily recommend this banner in any capacity. But that is just my opinion, and that is the video, guys. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let me know, do you agree with my recommendation, or are you one of those that are like, no, Bardock is a must summon for me? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.